Do you remember this $188 million house?
How many bathrooms are in the house?
21.
21. How many bedrooms?
12.
12.
Yeah.
38,000 square feet. One helicopter. Helicopter comes with it?
Yep.
Got it.
It was my first property tour I did on YouTube ever, and the video blew up. I still think to this day is our best performing property tour of all time on my history on YouTube. And then it sold for almost $100 million less than it was listed for. Actually, it was listed initially for $250 million, worked its way down, and then sold for just over $90 million, which was a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but it sold for a lot less than the asking price. I want to do a rewind. Let's go back. Let's look at this house. This is the director's cut, the recut of the greatest property tour of all time that we've ever done. And I want to show you why I think it sold for a lot less than the asking price back when we did the tour. Let's go.
This is the world's fastest electric motorcycle in the world. It's called the Sora.
The thing that made this house so unique wasn't just how big it was, or the location, or the views. It's that it was so customized. The furniture, the art, that huge camera, the helicopter, the candy, the movie theater, all the car, everything was included. Set up and ready to go. Like an all-inclusive resort, you could just buy all in one. I've never seen a house like that ever. And because this is a director's cut of our first tour ever, there was so much footage of this house that we weren't able to show everything. So here's a bonus clip that we never showed when this first came out 4 years ago.
So we have 3 safes in the house. This is one of them.
This is an actual safe?
It's an actual safe. Ryan, if you can get it through the safe, we're going to give you the house. Yeah, it's 9 feet wide by 20 feet high. It was made here on the premises. So handmade, every single dial, all the brass that you see. They were here with sandpaper, and they were made it basically what you see. Again, it's a piece of art. The safe probably cost around $1 million to build.
It was the first time a spec developer had ever set out to say, I'm not just gonna build a beautiful house and sell it, I'm gonna build a beautiful lifestyle. And I'm gonna sell the lifestyle. And then they stuck a massive number to it because it had never really been done before. Like you see now, this house just sold for $100 million. Jeff Bezos just did this. Larry Ellison just bought this. This house, but back then, when we did this, and this was years ago, no houses were selling for numbers like this.
So the staircase alone took 2 years to build.
And probably somewhere around $2 million. Got 20 guys who, and again, this isn't chrome, this is polished steel. And to get polished steel to this level of finish is extremely difficult to do. Right? I mean, this isn't a staircase, this is art.
Yeah.
So they spent $2 million on the staircase. Would you do that today if you're building a house to sell it? I mean, probably not. But would you build a beautiful staircase that makes the home really, really, really gorgeous? I mean, yeah, of course you would. We sell a lot of homes that have crazy staircases in them all the time, and they all cost a lot of money. But back then, one of the goals was to actually spend a lot on the house. The $2 million staircase, I'm talking to you about it right now because it was part of the marketing. It was part of the press. It was part of the PR that this is the house that has a $2 million staircase. That's why it's worth this massive amount of money. It was part of the brand. The brand of that house, when it was listed, was the most expensive house. And everything in it was the most expensive. So if you're somebody that wants to buy the most expensive everything, this is your house.
This thing's 100 years old.
There's 3 kitchens in the house, right?
Yeah.
3.
Even 4 if you count the outdoor kitchen, but 3 kitchens. You have the owner's kitchen, this is the chef's kitchen, then we have the staff kitchen.
There's a whole part of the population who are stupid rich, who could go just get a bag from the Gap, right? But no, they're gonna go to Hermes and they're gonna get a Birkin bag for $50,000 or $100,000. They do the same thing. But nope, this one is the brand, and because it's so expensive, the expensive bag is the brand. Birkin bags, I think, were the most collected item in the luxury market space this entire year, by the way, fun fact. This house even had stone Birkin bags in it as art pieces, and stone Louis Vuitton cases as art piece. I mean, this is crazy. There's so many crazy things in this house, but actually, from what I remember, this is now 4 years ago, one of my favorite stories was that massive silver Leica camera that's right there at the base of the stairs.
Bruce saw this Leica camera in the flagship store of Leica in Beverly Hills. driving by the store, pulled over, went into the store and said to the manager, you know, I want to buy this camera. And the guy said, you know, every camera in the store is for sale, but not this one. And Bruce would say, everything's for sale. So after like a half hour of negotiation, not only with the manager, but the CEO of Leica, Bruce had a flatbed waiting outside Leica in Beverly Hills. They had to take the storefront off of Leica because this was put in before they put the storefront on the store. Brought it here by flatbed and then took it by crane and brought it through the skylight, and it landed right here on the main level.
That's crazy.
Because he just said, I want that. To be honest, we made this property tour almost completely by accident. Okay, this is over 4 years ago. I was in Los Angeles doing my book tour for Sell It Like Serhant for my first book. I'd grown out a mustache for some reason. I don't even remember why. Like, hey, this is a cool house. Can we come through? And I reached out to Sean, a broker that I knew. It's like, hey, can you show me this crazy house? Like, yeah, sure. We're just not going to show you the bedrooms. I think we couldn't see the primary suite and a handful of bedrooms because those were being saved and they didn't want to, like, you know, for security for the future buyer and all that stuff. And I'd never seen anything like that. Like one of the motorcycles that they included in the sales, one of the fastest motorcycles of all time, something like that. The movie theater, all the bowling alley, and like all the furniture and all the stuff. I mean, just like it's basically a rich person's playground in Los Angeles, and someone bought it.
They're one of ones. This one's black crocodile with black diamond. The other one is black stingray with black diamond. Bruce is a frustrated guitar player, but these are probably the most expensive and coolest guitars in the world.
And then obviously something else that made this house super famous at the time was that the minute you drive down this driveway, you've got this massive helicopter that's sitting there, and it was included. Now what I didn't know when we got there is it's not a real helicopter. Like the engine's out.
Crazy. And it still works?
So they made us take the engine out because the neighbors here were having a heart attack.
What, that he was going to be taking the helicopter to and from?
Yeah, I mean, that's a real helipad. It's a legal helipad. It could take the weight of a helicopter, but here in Bel Air, if you were allowed to have helipads, everyone would have a helicopter.
And they just have helicopters going everywhere.
Right, so
it's an art installation.
It's an art installation.
You can't actually fly it. Like, it would be illegal if you had an actual helicopter and you were flying up and flying down right there. But as an art piece, decommissioned, it was a super cool thing to have there because it also showed the whole scale. But I thought it was real. And then I started thinking about all the cars and motors. Are all these things just art? What's real? Are there no engines in anything? What's happening here? So that's the house, one of our biggest property tours of all time, one of the coolest houses we've ever had the opportunity to tour. Initially asking $250 million, sold for just over $90 million, almost a 60% discount. And now we have to say, well, why? Well, maybe $250 was never a real price for the house anyway. $250 was a marketing price, was a stunt price. It was a price put out there, and at that time, $250 million for a house. No one had ever seen anything like that before. Today, it's a big price, but you see it a lot more. Back then, no way, no way. And so that news went around the world. The most expensive house in the United States, $250 million, this house, insane. And so everyone found out about it. Everyone knew about it. Was someone gonna buy it? Possibly. Did they at that price? No, of course not, right? We went and did our tour when it was $188 million. You throw in the eights in there, right? That's good for luck. But eventually, the house sold for basically what the real estate was worth. Everything else that is included in it was definitely a bonus. Sometimes you oversell. Sometimes you undersell. I think this house sold eventually for exactly what it was worth at the time. And they had to be priced high to get a buyer to come in and feel like they were getting a great deal, right? That's what you do sometimes. You have a big expensive listing, you put it out there, a buyer comes through and they feel like they're getting a great deal because they got it for half off. They got it for $50 million off. And then sometimes the opposite happens. We have a townhouse that we just sold on 68th Street on the Upper East Side a couple weeks ago. Everyone said it was worth $35 million. We sold it for $57 million, and we sold it over FaceTime. It was in the Wall Street Journal, everywhere. And it was beautiful, and it was done, but that buyer wanted that house and paid that amount of money, right? And that's what that house is worth, and that's how it works. Real estate pricing is not always objective. When you get into the ultra luxury space, there's not like comps. When they built that house and they filled it with all this crazy, awesome shit, they weren't like, oh, that other huge house that sold with the helicopter and only 3 motorcycles sold for 100. You know, these comps don't exist. These are art pieces. They're literally pieces of art, and they're worth what a buyer is going to pay for them. I sold a house last year in Palm Beach for just under $140 million. Was it worth 100? It was worth that? to my guy, and that's what it sold for. Would it sell for that today? I don't know. Would it sell for that 5 years ago? Absolutely not. Right? We have the most expensive home in the United States on the market right now at Central Park Tower, $250 million. Is it worth that? I actually think so. No bullshit. Because the comparable sales, price per foot, are much, 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 much higher. Like $15,000, $16,000, $20,000 a square foot. At $250 million for the penthouse at Central Park Tower, we're asking only $14,000 a foot. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's a lot of space, and there's nothing else like it in the world. It's one for one, so that's how we priced it, and I think it makes a lot of sense, which is why we're gonna sell it. And we'll do a rewind to that video in 4 years. Now that we've been doing property tours all over the world on YouTube for over 4 years, there's a lot of history that's been built up. Really, really cool tours. Remember the closet one? Remember the Colorado tour? I mean, there's so many of them, and a lot of these properties have sold. There's crazy stories, and there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happened while we were shooting that we've never ever talked about, plus bonus footage and everything else. So if you like this video and you want us to do the director's cut and the bonus footage from our past huge property tours, let me know in the comments, and maybe we'll do some more.